Yeah, hold on. Perfect. So everyone's connected. So we're good. GIBSON. All right. Let's see. Good. This thing is on. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Not based on some sort of brochure that I slid across the table, but after interacting with students. That is fantastic. So the way he described, there are two things I'll leave you with regard to this story. One is, he said, kings are not the old crusty wineskins, which I love. And his assessment is, and he's been around higher education for a very long time, is that King's is in the sunrise of its time as an institution, the sunrise phase. So that was very encouraging to me to receive that the day after he was here. The next thing I want to mention to you is the senior staff and I were all out in Grand Rapids this past week on Thursday for a board meeting. The to-do for me as the acting president was to pitch my 5-year business plan for making King's sustainable and growing King's and making it a healthy institution across the board. I have worked with the senior staff to put together essentially 4, I would call them lines of operation. That's a little military, but that's kind of where I come from, as you guys know. But those 4 are a capital campaign, specifically residential real estate, growing the enrollment, so the incoming class, working on retention is also part of the enrollment piece, good stewardship of the resources that we currently have, and then building out the fundraising part of the college, so what's known as the advancement office. By far, the thing that helps the college the quickest is getting a building. We got a commitment from our board on Thursday that one of our donors is going to match 2-to-1 anything toward our capital fundraising. And on Friday, I called our broker and was authorized to put together a deal. We are bidding on a building. It's a 3-minute walk from this campus. Oh. We are building, now listen. This is the request part, okay? We're bidding well below the asking price. There's a number of reasons for that. First, the price has already been lowered once by the seller, and lowered like $5 million. Okay, so they're motivated to sell. The next is, with the new tax law that's passed, you can't deduct mortgage interest any longer on your taxes. That is driving Manhattan real estate prices down as we speak. That's kind of the reaction I was going for. So here's the outright ask from you guys. Pray. If this is what God has in store for Kings, pray. pray about it. Pray that we are in his will, and that if it isn't this building, it's another building. Our board is enthusiastic, excited. Since 1999, when King's launched in New York City, we have not owned 1 square inch of real estate. This is a game changer. And to quote one of our board members, welcome to the new Kings. Pray about it. Okay, and with that, I'm just going to step aside. I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited to hear what the new student body president candidates will roll out for you, but it's good. Smile, pray, talk amongst yourselves. Look forward to working with the next SBP. Michael?
3, 2, 1.
Thank you guys so much. That is very exciting news. Goodbye, staff and faculty. Thank you so much for everything you do. Well, that is very exciting news. Thank you, Onassis. Yeah.
You're good.
Welcome to the new Kings. That's a very exciting line. And I am so thankful that these are the guys that we, as students, get to learn from and work with. And especially as student leaders and as one of these 3 individuals. One of them will have the chance to work very closely with that leadership team next year. And it's been one of the greatest honors and gifts of my life to learn from those guys. So I'm very thankful for their example. And yeah, let's pray about this because that is very, very exciting. This is going to be a pretty quick event. We have 3 candidates. They're each going to come up and speak for 5 to 7 minutes. Some group accountability if they go over 7 minutes. Just sort of clap them off the stage if they near 8 minutes. But very excited to hear what they have to say. I want to thank all 3 of you guys for this campaign, for committing yourselves to kindness and doing tough work. You've already shown an ability to listen to the student body, and that's really what this role is about. So thank you for listening. Thank you guys for engaging and speaking and being here at these events. Thank you guys for crafting like really aesthetically pleasing Instagrams. That's made me very happy, but I've been very impressed by it. That's a small token thing, but still goes a long way. Your guys' ideas are very encouraging. I think, as we just heard, the college has exciting days ahead, and that is going to require some exciting ideas and some new innovative ways to handle student government and really how we handle our commitment to one another. Because one of the things this year that I've tried to do is to just not take ourselves so seriously and not forget about the things that truly, truly matter, because there are many times where student government can feel silly. But one of the most encouraging things is that the people that I've gotten to work with this year on the council, with student orgs, with exec teams, and with the entire student body, is that there's nothing silly about our commitment to one another and the ways that we get to speak into each other's lives. And thank you for giving me the honor of doing that from this position. So I'm excited to hear what these 3 have to say to sort of wrap up their campaigns. This is the last official campaign event. Voting is going to open at 12:45. You guys will receive an email in your inbox. It will be like a Google survey, and that will be open until 11:59 p.m. tomorrow night. After the speeches, I'll come up and sort of lay some groundwork for what happens next and what it's going to take to win, what happens in case of a runoff, all sorts of those nuanced logistical things, but I'll save that for the end. The list of the order, I guess, of the speeches today was randomly generated, thanks to randomgenerator.org. And that list, yeah, let's give it up for randomgenerator.org. That list is Ian, Brandon, and Elle. So I'm not going to come up in between each one, give them a round of applause, and then the next person will come up and speak. But thank you guys so much for being here today. I will pass over the mic to Ian.
Just make a little timer set up here, just to make sure I'll do this little trick I learned in debate. Well, good afternoon. We find ourselves in the midst of a student body presidential election that has writhed and twisted like the great serpent that student government is. The book of Proverbs reminds us to choose a good name above great riches. And I remind all of you of this, that you may choose a good name above the vaporous riches of politics. That you may choose kindness, manners, and civil discourse above a certain candidate. Last week, Dr. Mueller reminded us that we should concern ourselves with standing for the right things, not standing for popularity's sake. More than I want to be student body president, I want to stand for the right things. This is why, in an attempt to return to what is actually important about the candidates, I run a pretty minimal campaign. It now falls to you, the student body, to choose your next president. The student body president should be a facilitator and an advocate for students, someone willing to stand beside you in the trenches. More than that, the SBP must look to the past and to the future when making decisions in the present. Our actions cannot be taken out of the overarching narrative at King's. As Chamberlain in the House of Reagan, I've helped cast a vision for the future that is directly and personally shaped by the voices of the past. It is through our understanding of our core character as Kingsians that we will succeed in creating a community that is connected to each other. Part of that character lies in our approach to spiritual life. While the school has some responsibility to foster growth, spiritual life is organic. It relies on a choice from you and me. This necessitates a flexible approach. To use economic language, we cannot centrally plan for spiritual life. It'll be the local knowledge that drives us forward. This means equipping our spiritual life associates and empowering individuals to take ownership of their faith. I want to cast a vision for spiritual life that puts materials in the hands of individuals, because individuals have a pulse on the spiritual life at King's. This requires the council to intentionally listen to what the community needs. We need to intentionally build school community, and this means having events that fulfill the purpose of events. When the Christian Formation Committee highlights the busyness of King's students as a specific reason for why those students cut back on spiritual life, it's time to consolidate. As SBP, I want to meet with Eric Bennett and Student Life to talk about how to maximize the events we have on the calendar. Over the last few years, Student Life hasn't added any more events into the calendar. For every new event that's added, an old event has been taken off. I want to leverage this experience in thinking about how we build events into the calendar. Our community can be improved by simplifying the existing structures. This starts with the council. Currently, the House presidents receive council agendas 48 hours in advance. However, for most key issues, 48 hours is not enough time to gather the opinions of House members. Better representation starts with facilitating communication between the representors and the represented. My proposal to support our athletes is attainable, realistic, and supports athletes in a way that they have actually praised as meaningful. It consolidates efforts for House attendance at games into one event instead of being spread throughout the semester. Even if this event is too much, we can improve our support of athletes by sitting down with the president of SAC to facilitate our attendance efforts in games. All of this can be accomplished using existing structures. Likewise, by using existing structures well, we can facilitate connection to each other. Students feel connected when they feel represented. And while there has been a lot of talk about the need for representation, there has been little talk about what representation actually means. Representation is about having someone that knows you speak on your behalf. With the current system, all students are represented at the council meetings. Now, I understand this is different than from saying that all students feel represented at council meetings, but all students have a representative through the presidents in the House system. The problem is not with students being represented, it is with students being represented well. More voices do not equal more representation. Good representation equals more representation. If we misidentify the cause of the lack of representation, our proposed solution will likely fall short in the same way as our current system. We can and ought to use the current system more effectively. Creating more structures and increasing the expectations for org leaders specifically only sets those leaders up for burnout. Brandon's platform has struck a chord that rings true surrounding the over-expectations placed on the Chamberlain role. Yet many of the problems in the role of Chamberlain are largely cultural expectations, not student life or exec team expectations. The flaw in the system is not the Chamberlains nor the expectations from student life. The flaw is that we are broken people living together with broken people. This is a flaw that no amount of training can make up for. We cannot, however, create another culture in which we look to students to fix heart-level brokenness. Fixing people is never a prerogative of any student leader. The issues that King's faces must be addressed realistically and sustainably. We start by empowering our current leaders to represent well. We can practically build connection by utilizing the House Futures Committee to address the concerns and suggestions for reform in House exec teams. The council can better allow House presidents to represent their community by communicating agendas more than 48 hours in advance and allowing those House presidents to communicate with their teams and houses, giving them the ability to represent their houses instead of simply reacting to council proposals. We can strengthen our connection to each other by incentivizing houses to share their best practices. We can create a platform that rewards innovative ideas. Lastly, I think we can better connect the dots between House needs and council structures. This will allow the council to better serve the student body by empowering houses. More than anything else, I want the Kings of tomorrow to be better than the Kings of today. When I worked in admissions, one of my favorite questions that people would ask is, why should I come to Kings? I love this question because I never even knew where to start in answering it. There's so many things I could go off on, but I would normally start by answering it by telling stories about the people of Kings. I would tell the stories of the late night theological debates on the way to Donut Pub, of finding stray cats in the middle of the Bronx on the way home from a soccer game, or of my exec team knocking on my door inviting me to come hang out with them. No matter what story I would tell, I would always come back to the people. And when I consider how to best improve Kings, I can think of no other avenue than the people. The people are the biggest assets of the King's College. We don't need more structures at King's. We need more people in the right place. I'm committed to making that happen. I'm committed to listening, facilitating, and advocating for the student Kings. There's always a question of how can this be better? Let's answer that together. Through our character, our community, and our connection to each other, we can make a better Kings. Let us not grow weary in doing good. Thank you.
Before I start, I wanted to say thank you to Elle and Ian for engaging in the conversations, and then to you guys for making Win or Lose my voice, making me feel like I was heard throughout this process, which is a massive part of what it means to run and care about these things. So when I was 17 and looking for colleges, I had no idea where I wanted to go, and Kings was definitely not on my radar in any facet, mostly because I didn't know what I wanted out of school or if I even wanted to go to school. I wanted to play soccer, but I also wanted to go with my friends to Mizzou, who doesn't have a team, and even if they did, I couldn't play there. I also wanted to experience something new, but at the same time, the thought of leaving my family seemed unbearable. I wanted to learn something great, but I also didn't really want to work for it at all. And in the midst of all these conflicting emotions, King sent me that creepy email about free money. And I responded to it, and I went to my first college visit here. And actually, I showed up for Naviso for a day and went back home and never planned on coming back here. And I didn't choose a school until later that summer when I was on vacation. It was July. School started in August. And I tell people that soccer was the reason I came, but it was a gut feeling, and that's all I've got. There's no other better reason that I can come up with. So after being here for 1 year as a freshman, I did not like it. I had been honor coded or confronted twice about the honor code. So I'd been confronted twice, but one of those times I was cursed out about it, actually. And I decided this was stupid, and this is not something that I wanted to be a part of. I couldn't hang in there with everyone academically. I wasn't smart enough. I didn't come from the same kind of money that a lot of the people next to me did. And I couldn't relate to anyone about where I'd come from, or about any of the struggles that I faced as an individual, or at least wasn't social enough to know if that was possible. King seemed like a fake place, and I didn't really want a part of it. But I was really close with my roommates my freshman year, which led me to grow and actually connect with the community. Two of those roommates were Michael Martinez and JJ Harbo. Michael Martinez was the helmsman my freshman year when I first lived with him, and it's because of him that I ended up running. He was so genuine with wanting to bring people together that I could see the problems with it because he was very open about them, but I could also see that it was genuine and something that he deeply cared for. And it was because of talking to him that I decided to run. And when I ran, the next year JJ was on our team and he was our chamberlain. And I don't think I've ever encountered someone as influential as JJ, probably in my entire life, especially when it comes to peers. With JJ, he listened and he empathized and he lived his own life in a way that I had to try and emulate him because I knew it was what I was supposed to be doing. He The selfless love that he showed me, as well as his now wife, Brooke, was something that I'd never experienced in my entire life, let alone in a community like this one, and it's how I knew that it was something that I wanted to be a part of if it was done well. And it was at that moment when I bought in and knew what it felt like to belong here that I knew that I wanted to make others feel like they belonged. And that was what made me take the step to becoming helmsman and later president, to share that sentiment with everyone else. And now I want to do it with the rest of you, which is why I'm running for this position. I have felt like I didn't belong here, and even fought against some of the very staples of our community, including the honor system. It was a painful process that I endured to realize why this place is special. It's not until someone told me to stop doing those things that I was doing because they cared about me that I realized that the honor code was a good thing. It wasn't until I was listened to and loved by the people in my house that I felt like I had a place here. Most of all, it wasn't until I saw God's love lived out by a peer and someone that I loved and respected but considered a friend that I knew that I had to do this for other people, and I have not been able to shake the need to do that. I know I can't dictate the way that the people in my house see things, but I can do my best to listen to how they see the world and offer my 2 cents as to how they can influence it or better understand it. And that's the same sort of value that I'm bringing to the people here today. I can't change our school at the drop of a hat, and I don't want to. But I can live by example to demonstrate that above all, our culture should value serving each other and be authentic to those around us. By being yourself, you engage in the community in a way that leaves you vulnerable. And it's a beautiful and amazing thing, but it's a hard thing. The best impacts I've had on other people were in my most vulnerable moments, and the times when I've been most shaped were when I was being vulnerable myself. I think, as a president, I've managed a team, I've set a vision, I've made sure that those things are done, and I know how to execute and adjust systems as appropriate. These are things that I can do, and I've shown that I can do that. But I think the most valuable thing that I can bring to you guys as a student body and to everyone in this community is that I can offer up an understanding that the real strength of the community lies in you. It lies in your ability to love each other and to demonstrate that to each other. And if I can do anything to take steps to make sure that that is easier for you and encourage doing that, then I will have done my job. I want to develop real relationships that find their root in service rather than the purely political realm of the council table. It's about more than that to me. I'm not here because of my agenda or my vision for Kings. I'm here to pass on the love that got me here in the first place, and I hope that you'll give me the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
What happens when reality doesn't match your dream? After wanting to come to Kingston 6th grade, and Reagan, I know about your group chat, I wanted to come to Kingston 6th grade. I found myself 1 month in, crying against the wall every night, feeling like I didn't belong. And you know what? I thought because I didn't drink that I was better than everyone else. I thought that I couldn't belong, that real relationships just weren't an opportunity for me. And I sat back and I waited for the good things to come to me. I waited for a culture change. Now, business majors, PPE majors, plug your ears because I'm about to drop some principles of cultural interpretation in here. Professor Wilkinson talks about how there is really no such thing as culture. Instead, there are artifacts, the events, the things, the books, the products that we consume and create. And those amount to something that we call culture. And it was the artifacts of my freshman year. Julia Hansen inviting me to come and watch a movie uptown. Caitlin Hasagawa making me paninis every night when I came home from my internship. One of my closest friends coming out to me 1 month into school that turned my heart of stone into a heart of flesh, that showed me that I could belong here, and that maybe dreams aren't attainable, but that maybe reality is something better. Because we go through these difficult times, we examine and we confront the ugly parts of ourselves, and we do it together, and we hurt each other, and we come back to each other each time. I'm not up here today because I want to rehash my platform for you. I've had some great conversations over the past 2 weeks. I know it feels like a year. And Brandon and Ian have been thoughtful partners in these conversations. I'm grateful for them. But I'm here because we've outgrown our structure. And when I wrote that sentence, I didn't realize how true it would be. We've outgrown our physical structure, and so we're searching for a new one. We've outgrown the structures of student government, and it's time to find a new one. That's why I want to be your student body president. For 18 years, or for 15 years, we've funneled all of our resources and expectations into 10 houses, and specifically into the 4 20-year-olds who are tasked with being on the executive team. We found it's become clear that those 4 exec team members bear a burden that they should not have to bear. I felt this when I was scholar last year, and I know that I didn't even feel the worst of it. People leave their roles at the end of the year and they never want to participate in King's leadership again. We need to take that concern seriously, and we should have conversations. We should advocate like hell, but at the end of the day, a culture change isn't what we need. What we need is training and equipment for the 150 other student leaders on our campus who each have very real encounters and are in very close proximity to students every day. We have the president of one of our largest student orgs on campus who has 63 members come to her with things that they would never tell their president or chamberlain. The difference? We don't equip that org leader to handle those situations. And she really has no reason to know that she should connect those students to exec teams, to mental health resources, to departments within the school. We owe it to our students and to our student leaders to create the space for their relationships to flourish, instead of forcing them to fit an outdated mold. We also need to think about the policies that do hinder exec teams and associates from accessing their budget, from planning great fundraisers throughout the year, from having ownership of council meetings. A student body president can, and I can, work with you on these things, take tangible steps. But we also don't give associates as great a stake in house life as we ought to, especially when our houses are 60 members. Like, you come in for training for associate day and like you're building the tallest tower and you're like, my job is to be a social media associate. Where's the training for that? This is an area where the cabinet should be filling the gap between what student development provides and what our student leaders need. We have the resources to do that, to create the space where community can flourish. And we expect student organizations to be the centers of innovation, but we don't give them the resources or a voice in campus conversations. When student orgs put on great events, the student body benefits. I was just talking to John Rothermel this morning, and he wants to put on a King's Film Festival. John, I hope it's okay that I just said that. But isn't that amazing? Like, the King's Players goes to Times Square and puts on shows, and like, we're crying over the Christmas Story. And it's making us better. And yet we don't give orgs the training for event planning, communication, marketing, fundraising that they need. We don't connect them to external partners who can give them more sustainable budgets. And we as a student body don't receive the benefits that we could from the things that they create. And we don't validate the fact that a lot of students find their home there. And we assume that going to games is the only way to support student athletes when they're getting hurt because the school doesn't have its own consistent trainer. And they're falling behind in school. And the council can't fix these issues, but it should be taking them up. There are also people who go to King's and they don't find their home in any of these places. But they deserve a chance to speak into campus conversations, to apply for cabinet positions in council committees, to hang their art around campus. They and we are faced with a system, and quite frankly, a lot of the times an honor code that encourages us to outsource our problems and wait for the good things to come to us instead of taking our own initiative. There's a lot that we can do in order to make this place better. And too often all that we talk about is advocacy. But if you take anything from my speech, from my campaign, please listen to this. Every student deserves to be heard. We all have something to offer each other, and it's time to provide structured ways and forums for us to give of ourselves to one another in the ways that we know best. There are students who are served well by the house system, and we should preserve that home that frames all of our experiences. But there are also students who feel left out, who fall through the cracks. Maybe they're the quiet ones who are overwhelmed by the city, or maybe they're ambitious and driven and they work 20 hours. But whoever they are, whoever you are, whoever I am, we deserve a place in this community. I know that we hear it in BSO that King's isn't for everyone, but I'm of the school of thought that if you walk through the doors, you receive your acceptance letter, you belong here. And wherever you find your home, you should serve it. It should serve you. You should love it. You should cherish it. And we should turn around and support you in that endeavor. We have spent too long contenting ourselves with a system that doesn't allow for students to find their home in a variety of places. And we have the chance this year to create artifacts, to create master schedules and initiatives and programs and have council meetings that amount to something that allows every student to feel involved and to feel like Kings is a place where they belong. We have a chance this year to build what you could call a culture of belonging. These are our artifacts. These are our people. Welcome to the new Kings.
Can we just give one more round of applause to all three of these guys? Thank you so much. It is really, really encouraging to hear all three of you guys and the hearts that you have for this place, and I am confident that the student body is going to be in excellent hands next year, so thank you for that. What time is it? Oh, it's 12:45. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so the inbox, or your inbox maybe will get the email in the next few seconds, but this is how the next couple days is going to play out. As I said at the top, the voting is open until 11:59 p.m. and you get one vote. It will thank you for voting, I think, and then explain to you that the announcement is going to be at Wednesday, 12:15 p.m. in the first floor lobby. What it takes to win without a runoff is 50% of the vote plus one single vote. So if none of these three guys can have that, then the top two candidates will go into a runoff election. That will look like the announcement at 12:15, then we'll move into a time of sort of a last-minute runoff debate on Wednesday. Voting will open for that around like 1:30 p.m. on Wednesday. It will close Thursday night, and then we'll gather together again on Friday for the official announcement. But we'll sort of play it by ear, see where we're at. Again, it's 50% of the votes plus one vote. And you guys, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for these candidates. Please vote. There's a funny thing that happens here at Kings. I've talked to like other student government leaders at other schools, and even if they have like 30,000 people there, I feel like the same number of people care about student government. It's like right around 300 or so, and that's what we are. So I have always been encouraged by the voter turnout at the King's College and the amount of people that care here. So please vote. Let's have this be the record-setting year for the amount of people that vote. Have your voice heard. We have a council meeting tonight at 7:30. If you have questions, bring them. Ask these guys your questions before you make an educated decision, but please let that be the rule. Make it an educated decision. Don't let this be a popularity vote contest. Don't let this be a friendship poll contest, but let this be an educated decision. So thank you guys so much. We will see you on Wednesday for the announcement.
Mike.
Oh, thank you. Have a good day.
That was the best last year we've had. The only thing.
Sorry, you just yelled.
Okay, yeah, could you hear me?
I heard you sometimes like this is too loud. Yeah.
Okay. So, were you watching the corner of your phone saying?
Yeah.
Okay. You were really good on the game. You did a really good job. You were very attentive, which was really nice. It was really good. Because like all you have to do is on your phone. Because look at your phone. When it says preview, look, that's when I'm testing to make sure it looks fine.
Yeah,
Whatever.
was I doing good?
Yeah. No, you were great.
Thanks.
Wait, what? Olivia.
Olivia.
Why'd you tell me?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I thought we were done.
Oh, yeah.